Hello and welcome back to Library of Ruina Ranked. In this video, I'll be ranking the cards in Urban Myth. There are quite a few awful cards, but we also find some gems in the 1 costs, so let's get started. Our first card is Keep It Fresh. This is a 1 cost rolling 3-4 / 1-12 evade. This page's evade is incredibly strong for this stage of the game, rivaling evades found in Star of the City. It's a little bit awkward to use at times since the evade is on 2, which means you're usually going to free hit with it and let the evade act like a counter die rather than clash with it, but it's still good. Of course, being a 1 cost with a single offensive die, the damage is low, but the strong evade means you're usually happy to run a copy or 2 in your decks, which makes this a C+ for me. Trim the Ingredients is another 1 cost. This one rolls 1-6 blunt, 1-4 evade with the blunt inflicting 1 paralysis next in on hit. Compared to Keep It Fresh, this page trades 4 power on the evade die and having a more inconsistent range for 1 paralysis, which turns a useful counter page into a page that you're never happy casting. This is just an F. I Can Cook Anything is a 2 cost rolling 1-6 pierce, 4-4 slash, with the slash recovering 4 HP on hit. This page has the same roll range as Fend This Off if you can, but lacks useful effects and is more inconsistent due to the wide range on 1. Additionally, since the 2 is a 4-4, it can't get an emotion coin for min or max rolling. All these elements together mean that this is just a C. Cooking Prep is a 1 cost rolling 4-5 block, 3-5 pierce, with the pierce inflicting 2 bleed next scene on hit. The roll range of this page is pretty incredible, being higher than most 2 costs at this stage of the game. The damage is also passable because of the 2 bleed. Compared to Keep It Fresh, this page has a 0.75 lower roll average, but has higher damage from the offensive die being stronger and the 2 bleed, as well as having better dice placement, which means that this page is a solid B. Next we have Ingredient Hunt. This 2 cost rolls 2-6 slash, 2-5 blunt, and the slash inflicts 2 binds next scene on hit. Compared to I Can Cook Anything, this page has the same roll average and trades the useless 4 HP for a close to useless 2 bind. I would say that this page is slightly better, but not enough so to make it anything higher than a C. Cruelty is a 1 cost rolling 2-6 blunt, 2-3 block, with the blunt recovering HP equal to the stacks of bleed on the target on hit. This page has some extremely fringe use in bleed teams in the mid to late game, as it can recover upwards of 60 or 70 HP, but in standard play, especially in Urban Myth, you're probably not going to recover more than 4 HP. Compared to Trim the Ingredients, the blunt die is slightly stronger, and a weak block is better than a weak evade, so that means it's a D- instead of an F. Next, Appetite is a 0 cost rolling 3-4 pierce that inflicts 1 bleed next scene on hit. 0 costs are bad, especially since you don't have a character with speed, and if you need to conserve light, you'd rather use a page like Cooking Prep, which clashes like a 2 cost, rather than this, which can't clash very effectively. It's just an F. Deflect is a 1 cost rolling 3-4 block, 1-4 blunt, 1-4 slash, with the blunt inflicting 1 paralysis next scene on hit. The dice spread looks pretty nice, but the rolls are so low that it's extremely hard to clash with this page. It also doesn't free hit exceptionally well because it only has 2 low rolling offensive dice. Still, paralysis is a good effect, so I think that this means this is a D. Mars's Prepared Mind is a 1 cost rolling 2-4 block, 2-6 slash, with the block giving the user 1 endurance next scene on clash win. This page's rolls are worse than Cooking Prep and it has a worse effect. It's more similar to Cruelty, having slightly higher power and better dice placement, which means it's a D+. Set Fire is a 2 cost rolling 3-5 blunt, both inflicting 3 burn at the cost of dealing 3 damage to self on hit. The clashing here isn't incredible, being beaten out by Cooking Prep, but it's passable for a 2 cost and 6 burn is an insanely high amount of damage. That level of damage means I can't put this any lower than a B. Taste My Flaming Bat is next. This page is a 1 cost rolling 3-4 block, 1-8 evade, 3-3 blunt. The evade boosts the blunt's max value by 3 on clash win, and the blunt inflicts 2 burn on hit. This is probably one of the best defensive pages in the game. The fact that the evade stacks onto the blunt means the damage is often still quite respectable, and you're quite likely to get at least 1 clash win since 1-8 has an average roll of 4.5. I've been incredibly impressed by this page every time I use it, and I think it's deserving of a B+. Nonstop Assault is a 3 cost rolling 1-5 blunt, 2-6 3-6 slash. Compared to Rampage, it trades the 2 bleed in a more consistent roll range for half a power on the 3rd die. I think that makes this worse than Rampage, so it's just a C. Fleet Footsteps is a 1 cost rolling 2-3 slash, 1-6, 1-4 evade, both of them recovering 2 HP on defense. This card is interesting as it's the only card on the game that has an on defense condition, which is like on clash win, but only against defensive dice. The other interesting thing is that this page is pretty awful. It has a lower roll range than Skitter Away, and while the dice placement is better because you can use the evade like a counter die, having the same roll range as Deflect but with worse dice type and effect means this is an F. Gather Intel is a 2 cost rolling 2 to 6 slash. Compared to Appetite, you get half a power in exchange for the 1 bleed. That's slightly better, but not nearly enough to get this page out of F tier. Lulu's Prepared Mind is a lot better than Mars's. This 1 cost rolls 1 to 6 block, 4 to 5 blunt, with the block giving the user 1 endurance next scene on Clash win. This page can compare to Cooking Prep a lot better, losing 1 power on the block and the 2 bleed for half a power on the blunt and the endurance. I do think it's slightly worse because the 2 bleed gives more damage than the half a power and the endurance doesn't matter too much, so it's just a B-. Pound is up next. The 0 cost rolls 1 to 5 blunt. This is just a worse version of Gather Intel and is a very easy F. Multi-block is a 1 cost rolling 1 to 5 3 to 5 block, 1 to 4 blunt. The rolls of this page are pretty sad, especially as a defensive page, and it doesn't have any relevant effects, so it's just an F. Multi-hit is a 2 cost rolling 1 to 6 pierced, 1 to 2, 1 to 2 blunt. And the first 2 dice boost the next die's max value by 3 on Clash win. If you get lucky, this page rolls 1 to 6, 1 to 5, 1 to 5, which is decent for a 2 cost, but since it's on Clash win instead of on hit, you're liable to low roll on 1, which all but guarantees losing the 2 and 3. I think that's a bit too much risk for such a paltry reward, so it's just a D+. Quick Attack is a 1 cost rolling 2 to 3 pierce, 2 to 3 blunt, and it gives the user 2 haste on use. I'm not sure what to say about this page. It gives the haste immediately rather than next scene, so it's even more useless than it would normally be. And beyond that, it's just a slightly more inconsistent light attack, which means this is another F. Finally, Strong Strike is a 3 cost rolling 5 to 7, 3 to 4 blunt. Compared to Commandeering, it loses the block die and the protection for a slightly more consistent 1. While it's quite good against enemies who are weak to blunt, the fact that it's basically just worse Commandeering means it's probably just a C. In the next video, I'll be covering the next chapter of the game, Urban Legend. I'll see you soon, and as always, thank you for watching.